Hello and welcome to another Retfurb video. Today we look at the SONY TA-V710 and we try to rectify the issues that it's got. All relatively minor issues, but all need doing. So let's get started. So firstly we're just going to run through the controls, just check all the switches, check the dials, just see what's going on. So it's actually difficult to hear, but the volume control does have a little bit of crackle when it's turned. As soon as I move the balance knob, you can hear crackle instantly. So as soon as it's turned to the left, it almost immediately turns the sound off. So there's obviously some sort of issue there. More than likely it just needs a good clean. So as you can see, as soon as I press the tuner button, there's no light on that one, so I'm presuming the bulb's gone or there's some sort of faulty circuit. So I did actually run through all the connections on the back, just making sure that the tape worked, the auxiliary, the CD, the tuner, etc. I just didn't want to waste time showing everyone me going through, pulling the cables out and doing that, but everything was fine. Despite the tuner not lighting up, it does actually still work. So now we need to get the shell off. Simple 4 bolts, 2 on each side. So now to take the front fascia panel off. There's 4 screws on this, 2 at the top, 2 underneath. All the buttons pull off easily. You can see the volume knob is faulty, it's separated in 2 parts when it shouldn't. So there's 2 wire connections that need separating before you can get the fascia off. These are pretty straightforward. I've just got to clip the cable tie just so I can separate from the rest of the wires. So these light panels need to be removed before the fascia will come off. They're just clipped in, so easily removable. So now I'm going to just check resistance on all the lights. As you can see, the faulty one reads totally different than the rest of them. It shows that there's a fault with that light. Now I'm just going to take the metal panel off that sits behind the fascia panel. That way I can get to all the knob controls and switch controls and just clean them up and make sure that they're all working okay, and hopefully that will resolve the issue. So the biggest part of these repairs is actually the strip down and refit, and obviously just checking everything. As you'll see, that the actual repairs themselves aren't too bad. So I'm just continuing to work my way around, undoing everything. There's quite a few screws that hold this front panel on and the little bits that are associated with it. Obviously the nuts on the dials also need to come off. So this Sony amplifier is actually quite a nice amplifier. It's quite densely populated inside. You can see there's quite a lot going on. So that's why it takes quite a bit to get into these areas. All the front panels are metal, the casing's all metal, so it was a well-made amplifier back in the day. I think it was quite high-end. I wouldn't say it was the highest amplifier they did, but it was up there. It was low distortion levels, so it was aimed at the higher end of the market. So here I was trying to unclip the buttons, but they just wouldn't come unclipped, so in the end I left them on there and they would actually squeeze through that panel. So I'm almost there now, undoing all the front sections. Here I'm just trying to get to the panel with all the controls on it. I'm just trying to loosen it so I can get in there and clean it all up. I think there was 2 plugs that I had to undo so I can get in there enough so I could work on it. First thing to do then is spray some deoxit into the switches. Hopefully this will rectify the issue. I'm pretty sure that it's just a dirty switch which is causing the crackling. So what I'm doing is just spraying it into it, any holes that are on the side of the switch just to get it in there, and then operating the switch to try and work it around and clean it. Now I know sometimes people have to disassemble the switch. I'm just hoping this time I won't need to. Now I'm going to fit it up loosely so I can just check the switches and make sure that they sound better. Hopefully the deoxit has rectified the issue. Now just to add a bit of deoxit to the volume control as well. I forgot to do this, so I'm just going to do that before I fit it up anymore. Now just to give it a quick test before I go any further. So as you can see from the test, there was no more crackling noise on any of the switches. So now to carry on and fit some more bits up, and then we'll go on to looking at replacing the bulbs. Just continuing to put in more screws in and just fitting up the rest of the parts on the front panel. So now it's time to look at replacing the bulbs. So what I've decided to do is remove this bulb and replace it with a bulb that's behind the other switch. It's the switch for the DOL, I'm not sure what that stands for, but the bulb is the same as on here. I've actually had to order another one to replace that bulb, but as it's a different bulb, I didn't want them to sort of mismatch the ones that are on here anyway. So I thought it would be best if I just replace that one with a different one because it's on its own and not in a row of bulbs. Here I'm just removing that single bulb, as it's the same as the other ones. I'm going to use this one on the strip. Just a simple case of soldering that one back into this row. So luckily I managed to find a compatible bulb, which is a genuine Sony item. So just a simple case of soldering this LED on the circuit. So a quick plug in and test shows that it's all working okay. And now just to put the little blue cap on top of it. Quick snip of the legs off of the LED. And now to replace the button trim. Basically now everything is reverse of taking it apart. The LED trim's got to be clicked back in place, and then the front panel can go on. Just a quick wipe up of some of the dust that's in around these areas. It wasn't too bad, it looks worse than what it was. There's a couple of places which were quite bad, but most of it wasn't actually that bad. Again, this bit just clips on before the fascia panel goes on. I'm just making sure I've got the wiring routed in correctly, and then I can clip in the cables. Now to screw on the fascia panel, 2 on the top, 2 underneath. So this is where the button is separated for the volume control. I'm just going to put a bit of super glue on here and then just push it back together, and that should hold it fine. Now just use the cable tie to hold the cables together. And finally time to put the lid back on. Just 4 screws on this one, 2 on each side. Now to give it a quick wipe off, there's quite a bit of sticky stuff around the outside. It looks like someone's stuck some sort of tape on there. So I'm just going to try and get that off as best as I can. I might in the future go around and try and touch in some of the little scratches that are on the fascia. It's mainly just on the top of it. There are some sort of scratches on the lid which are a bit rusted and horrible, so I may sand it all down and paint it. I may just leave it, I don't know yet. So with little projects like this, there'll be quite a few people who have this amplifier and think, oh, it's faulty, it's not worth it, it's not worth the time, but it just goes to show a little bit of effort and you can get it back to looking good, you can get it back to working well, obviously give it more years of service. Now cost wise, to do this, the deoxit can obviously I've had already, but you would have to buy that. It's not the cheapest. I think it was about £20 I think it cost at the time, but I've used it loads, and there's still probably half a can left, and then the bulb was, I think it was just under £7 delivered, which wasn't the cheapest, but you know, when you think it's got the system back up and looking and working good again. So now just a quick run through, a quick demo of it all working correctly. And that's it, all completed. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.